activities?
So Rameau is part of the character. Of course, he is the most powerful lobbyist in the state of Florida. And you know, the stereotypical view of lobbyists is the sleazy lobbyist is when there's a lobbyist who represents two sides of a two-sided issue where they're playing both sides. So we found a case where Rameau represented three sides of a three-sided issue. I mean, just way above and beyond what anyone else could do. But we did find some clear and obvious conflicts of interest. Rameau is the head of the homeless trust, and that homeless trust gives money to agencies who deal with homelessness. And they give money and land. And the agencies who they gave the most money to and land to then turned around and hired him the next year to be their lobbyist. So he had clients who were paying him tens of thousands of dollars to be their lobbyist, who he was then giving tens of thousands of dollars to as the head of the homeless trust. Clear and unconscionable conflicts of interest.
So you think ultimately does that justify a lot of your own behavior that is ostensibly against the law?
Ron Book?
No. Yeah, his behavior in some sense.
No, there's
How
no.
does that figure into your own?
It doesn't at all. There's no relationship to it, and there's no relationship to it at all.
Okay. Okay. Let me see if others have questions. Albert. Yeah, you need to come up and speak into the microphone if you would. And even face the camera.
Hello. Max, I'm very proud to be here with you. First question, how soon will you replace one of the sorry public servants who stood in your way? And second question, once you do that, and I hope it's soon, what would you do once you had to be legal about it? How would you make that transition from cutting locks to changing the way things work inside?
So I will never run for public office. I'm not running now. I don't want to run for public office. So I used to say, when I was working with Brothers of the Same Mind, people were starting to ask that. And I would say, I'm never running for public office. If I run for public office, it's because I've lost my damn mind.
Why?
So well, because